Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Genesis Chiropractic Software, I'm Dr. Tabor Smith, and we have a very, very relevant webinar today. I have my guest, Dan McCoy. He's the president of TechSubluxation.com. And so I was really excited about this webinar because this is going to be extremely helpful. And that's one of the things we try to do with these webinars for you guys is give you the absolute most value, most helpful information that we possibly can. And I assure you, after this webinar, you're going to change a lot of things in your practice. And so what I'm going to do first is go ahead and switch it over to Dan and welcome him. How are you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing great, Tabor. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today and what you're going to be doing.
Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about email security, HIPAA compliance in the chiropractic office, and really how not paying attention to these details can help you or could actually hurt your practice and potentially even have loss of life, and we'll dig into that a little bit.
Well, one of the reasons why I start off by saying this is an extremely relevant topic for chiropractors is, as we were speaking earlier, I was telling you that I get a lot of emails from chiropractors that have been hacked, and it's kind of dangerous and it's really unnerving that can happen so easily.
Yes, most definitely, and unfortunately, it's not paying attention. It's what you don't do. It's the sin of omission that causes the problem here. And we're going to be talking about how you can be aware and prevent that from ever happening.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I'm going to get my pen and paper out. Everybody who's on the line, I encourage you to shut everything down right now, your cell phones, other windows on your computer, and just really spend some time in something that could save you tons of heartache, tons of problem, and really save, potentially save the lives of your patients in the future. So, Dan, go ahead and take it away and share with us what you will.
Awesome. Thanks, Tabor. So, my first question is, how many of you have either been hacked or received an email from someone that you know that has been hacked? And now I can't get feedback from you. I love asking this question when I'm in the room with people because I get that feedback and the faces light up or they go down or whatever it happens, because you find out that almost everybody has either had their email hacked or they've received an email that looks like this from someone who is hacked. Now, Tabor, I know we were talking earlier that you get 3 to 4 of these a week, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier that this was actually an email that we received, one of my chiropractic buddies, that has this link in front of it. You see things like this, Tabor?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. In fact, it looks exactly like that, the 3 to 4 emails that I get a week, and I don't know why it's gotten so prevalent lately, but it really has. And one of the things, before I turn it back over to you, I was going to mention to everybody is you'll see below this video is a place where you can comment or ask questions, and we encourage you to do that. And Dan, I'm going to watch for that and make sure that we bring up any of the questions that anybody posts here.
Awesome. We want to empower people. One of the things when you walk away from this is that I'm a guy of action. I want action being taken. I don't want you to just walk away and go, hey, that's great information. I want you to engage. I want you to ask questions. We're going to give you some time at the end to be able to do that. So with that, I'm going to ask you this. How many of you would be okay with me showing you how to prevent this from happening? Just imagine for a moment an environment where with proper care, you didn't have to worry about loss of data, hacked emails, and HIPAA violations. Imagine being among the first chiropractors to know that you are protected from a disaster, productive in saving lives, and actually using your technology to grow practice. And I say first chiropractors because you would be surprised at how many folks that I talk to who are just busy healing people and don't think about this type of things. And I can understand that, but now it's time to be educated. Now, for those of you that are on this call and seeing this video down the road, there's no more excuses. It is now time to take action and make sure that you do not fall victim to this. I've got a job for you, though. Tabor asked everybody to shut down your electronics, and I wholeheartedly agree, but I want you to grab your cell phone and just set it aside right now, because at the end of this call, you're going to want it handy, and we'll talk about that right at the end. So today we're going to talk about the single most important thing you must do if you are hacked. And then 4 things that you or your recipients must do if you are to click on a hacked email. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the HIPAA ramifications of using free email accounts, the Hotmails, the MSNs, the AOLs, even the carrier emails, Comcast, Verizon, Time Warner, SBC Global. Those various carrier emails can be a bit of a challenge. And then if you do are a victim of being hacked, how do you turn this event into a marketing touch point to actually generate more patients? You know, there's 2 things you can do in life from every person in every situation that you run into. You can either look at that situation and say, that's a situation I want to emulate, or that's a person I want to emulate, or that's a situation I want to avoid. So learn from this situation and actually turn it into an opportunity to be honest and transparent with your patient. And then at the end, we're going to talk about some bonuses that are going to help educate you a little bit more that you are not going to want to miss. So the first question you might be asking is, who is this guy? Why is he working with chiropractors? And, you know, what's your shtick, Dan? So 2.5 years ago, almost 3 now, I had this full-time job, not doing what I'm doing now, working for the man, working for a corporation. I was coming home late. I was 20 pounds overweight. I was often eating microwave dinners because I had missed dinner. And I had a son who was very hyper, unable to focus, and on medications. Now this picture is super appropriate because I went and grabbed this after my son came to me and goes, "Dad, everyone hates me." So what do you do when your kid says that to you? I relayed this story to a colleague, and he said he had a child who was similar, and his DC had addressed it with his child. So he goes and talks to his DC. Now, she's in Chicago. She doesn't know me. She's never met me. And she calls me, and she offers to explain to me how chiropractic can help my child. She spent an hour on the phone with me, out of her goodwill. Another friend of mine, who's also a DC, says, "Hey, man, I'll go find a great pedio for you," because at that time my daughter was born. And she was about 1 year old, and he goes, "I'll go interview him for you, and I'll narrow it down." And he goes through and narrows it down to 2 chiropractors and tells me his choice and why. So these are both people who are, I'm not paying any money to, but they're chiropractors. They are you, who went out of their way to help me and help my family. That, in my mind, is going, okay, you know what? There's something going on here. I need to dig into this a little bit more. You see, I had this job, and I knew I needed to lead my family, and I knew I needed to have my house in working order. And I was looking for a way to change that job that I had into something where I could actually be productive and not just trading time for money. So I work with a great chiropractic coach. He's a great coach in the industry, Garrett Gunderson. He's worked with a lot of chiropractors. Some of you may have worked with him. Some of you know him. He helped me restructure all my finances so I could quit my job, and I did. And one of the things that Garrett talks about is building relationship capital. And I realized that being around Garrett and so many chiropractors that I had tons of relationship capital with chiropractors. So why in the world was I not serving an industry that I had become passionate about to express my sole purpose? So it was an instant transformation. I sat there and I talked with Dr. Dan Yochter, and we launched Tech Subluxation in 2 weeks. Because at that point in time, it wasn't just something I was doing. My why had become much bigger than my what. So many of you are DCs today because your why was bigger than your what. Maybe your story was something like Cristiano's, where he almost died and he was saved by chiropractic. And there's probably tons of stories out there like that, but your why really became bigger than your what. So we talk about some freedom and the passion and joy that we get to talk to with as many DCs as possible is what's driving us to reach our goal and make a mark on this industry. So what does it mean to have your email hacked? By definition, a hacker is someone who accesses a computer system by circumventing its security system. No, if you're old as I am or older, you might remember that WWF guy, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's not what it's all about. It's not somebody who's slicing and dicing wood, but it's very similar because they're accessing your computer system by circumventing its security, whether that's a password or whatever. Most data breach victims fell prey because they were found to possess an often easily exploitable weakness rather than because they were pre-identified for the attack. In 2012, Verizon Business did a study. Each year they actually do a data breach investigations report on what industries and which carriers and different things like that are the most vulnerable. They found 79% of their victims were targets of opportunity, and 96% of the attacks were not highly difficult. Do you know what the number one password for people's systems, whether it was email or otherwise, was? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll talk more about those very shortly. But first I want to tell you a story. This email is very similar to an email that was sent to a friend of mine's family and friends. See, Dr. Chris is a chiropractor, and he had just been to a tropical island off the Philippines. And he had just gotten back. And this email, or an email very similar to this, was sent to everybody on his list, including his mother, who knew he had just been there. Now this email says, hey, I'm here, I got mugged, all my stuff got taken, and we need to raise money. Please go to the nearest Western Union and transfer money to me. Someone called him up and said, dude, you got hacked. And he picks up the phone, and his mom calls him, and she says, are you okay? What's going on? She was on her way to the Western Union to wire that money. So the question is, how many want to give your 80-year-old mom that type of anxiety? Because the reality is that his email had been hacked. It had been sent out to all of his patients. And then they went in and deleted his entire database of contacts. So what does that mean to you? It means you can't let them know. It means you've lost all of those contacts that you had. And it means you've breached the trust of those patients. So why do you need to make a change? Check this out. Zappos.com was hacked. You see, every day, cyber criminals break into websites to steal databases of usernames and passwords. Think about it. Your password is the online key to your accounts. They put those databases up for sale on the black market, and they use them for their own nefarious purposes. Because many people reuse the same password across different accounts, stolen passwords from one site are often valid on the others. So if they know that you use certain banks, you're going to try the same passwords. This is equivalent to leaving the keys in your lock in your house. It's that serious. There's an organization called the Ponemon Institute, and every year they conduct independent research on privacy, data protection, information, and security policy. Check this out. In the United States, a data breach incident costs companies on average $194 per compromised record. By the way, your insurance that you have today does not cover you for the data breach. It's an optional coverage that almost nobody has. And if you guys reach out to me at the end, we'll talk about that insurance and make sure that you know how to truly protect yourself. But let's just do the math for a second. Your insurance doesn't cover that, and on average, I won't dig into the exact details of the $194, except for the fact that you have to do certain levels of notification reporting. You've got to buy credit monitoring. There's a whole bunch of things that you got to go do, set up an 800 number service depending on the size of the breach. But if you have 1,000 patients in your database, and I have yet to talk to a chiropractor that doesn't have at least 1,000 patients in the database, and by the way, this is per record, it's not per patient, so 10 records on one patient is 10 records. If you have just 1,000 patients in your database, though, it's $194,000 out of your pocket. Now, I don't know how many companies that can actually survive something like that. So my question is this. If you are saving lives every single day, lives like my son, lives like the people that come in to my chiropractor who have a 5-year-old daughter with half her bowel blocked, and 2 separate doctors, surgeons, are telling her we're going to have to cut out your 5-year-old's intestines, half of your intestines, and in 2.5 weeks with chiropractic adjustments, the bowel starts to function again. You're saving lives. So there's a bigger reason than money on the line to just care about this. I want to tell you about Isaiah. Isaiah is a patient of a good friend of mine, Dr. Joe. And Dr. Joe said his mom came in for her first visit. And he was explaining how the nervous system works and how the power of the body is able to heal when it's balanced. And at that point in time, Isaiah's mom started to cry. He said, "Mary, what's going on?" She was still sobbing. And she said, "My 9-year-old boy tried to commit suicide 2 times this year." Dr. Joe says, "Bring him in right away." She brings him in. In the history, he finds out that he was abused as a baby. At 8 months old, his father threw him into the air and dropped him. Instantly, Dr. Joe's commitment went up. Now, there's a good ending to this story. If you fast forward 5 months into care, the nervous system was working better, the scans were better, and he became the best student in his school, loving life completely different. So my question is, if you're saving lives and you're not paying attention to things that maybe you don't close down, maybe it just impacts you in a way that you can see 1 less patient a day. Maybe Isaiah doesn't get seen that day, or maybe my son doesn't get seen that day, or maybe that 5-year-old girl didn't get seen that day. See, Dr. Chris Zano is making a major difference. He is talking about how chiropractic is saving lives, and he has a great website called chirothoughtleaders.com, and they just put a blog post out. If you follow them on Facebook, and I would encourage you to do that, there was a blog post that was posted just yesterday, might even been this morning, that talks about people with cancer and AIDS and various things that have been able to be seen in his office and become cancer-free and even AIDS-free. So check that out, chirothoughtleaders.com. I highly encourage you to do that. By the way, for those of you wondering about my son, he got off his medications and today leads a normal life with regular care. And, Isaiah's doing great also. So while we still have some challenges, we made some changes with nutrition and various things like that really impacted him in a positive way, but I have to credit a lot of it towards what we were able to do early on through chiropractic. So let's talk about how you actually protect yourself in this environment. What's a good password? So check this one out. Here's an example. I'm not a big fan of passwords. I'm a much bigger fan of a passphrase. Right? Look at this one. I love my wife. Look, substitute some numbers in there. Uppercase, lowercase, throw an extra $sign at the end. Just get creative. What about chiropractic is a passion of mine? CIAPOM. And just do a variation on that. It's not a word that they're going to find in the dictionary. Unless the sender clicks on a link, the only thing you can do is change a password. So here's step number 1. If you get hacked, unless You or your sender clicks on a link, the only thing you have to do is change the password. So what's a good password? Well, I gave you an example of it. That one right there would take 16.82 years to crack at 100 billion guesses a second. That's the number of permutations that it would have to take, and I don't even know how to pronounce that number, to crack that password, because it's longer and it's complex. By the way, don't use the word password as your password. I see it all the time. Guys, and don't just substitute the @ symbol for the word A in there. That's the second thing I'm guessing. I'm just saying, you know, by the way, check this out. That word right there would take 2.17 seconds at 100 billion guesses a second. And by the way, it's not difficult with today's computers to guess a password and to run 100 billion processes a second. 2.17 seconds versus 16.82 years with that simple change. So, again, passphrase. I love my wife, Mary Jane Doe, forever. They're not going to get that out of a dictionary. Great, great, great password. By the way, don't copy this one. But choosing this type of concept, really good idea. Now, don't do this. I see this in doctor's offices. Do not post your passwords on the monitors. It is not okay under any circumstance. But you're going, Dan, I've got so many passwords, I can't remember them all. Check out a website called LastPass.com. You can actually use it for free. Grab a pen, write that down, go take action. LastPass.com. It's free. It encrypts your passwords and it stores them, and it automatically puts them in when you go to the websites, and it remembers them for you. Great tool. Use it. No stickies. So, 4 things to do if you or they, the people that got sent your stuff, your hacked email, click. 1, change the password right away. Simple. Nothing more to say about that. 2, shut down the computer. You can never predict what website the hacker is sending you to, but the first thing to do after clicking on that link is to totally shut down that computer and restart. This clears out any virus information that's in the computer's memory. Many of these viruses are not actually installed on the disk. I get these Viagra emails all the time, and I'm like, how did they know? It's ridiculous. I mean, they think I'm actually going to click on these things and actually buy these things. I reply to the spammers that I got an adjustment and my need for Viagra went away. So anyway, a small percentage of these viruses are memory resident only, so when you shut your computer down, it takes care of that. I had a client actually with a situation like that. They called me up and they were having all kinds of pop-ups and issues, and we have some pretty good protection on the machines for the clients that we protect, and it's very rare that they get infected. And they called us up and we were a little surprised, and we had them shut it down, and sure enough they powered back up and it was all gone. It was strictly resident in memory. By the way, have good antivirus on your computers. And watch that it's updated. You need to check on that. HIPAA compliance actually requires this. There are so many things. You know, guys, HIPAA is not a bad word. I would highly encourage you to create a culture of compliance. Now, you may not know what HIPAA security is all about yet. We can help you with that. We're going to show you a way that we can do that at the end. But HIPAA security is a great thing for your office. Embrace it. It is not a bad thing. It is telling you to do all the things that are really necessary to make sure that you continue to save lives. But I digress. Make sure you have good antivirus on there. Run a full virus scan after you get an infection. And what's a good antivirus? Well, any one you have on there that's current is a lot better than not having anything. We use GFI Viper for PC. We use Sophos for the Mac. Now, you do need to be careful from a compliance, from a legality standpoint. You cannot use a lot of the free antiviruses in a business commercial environment. You need to check out the licenses. This is not a place you want to cheap out. If you've got a Macintosh, Sophos makes a good solution. By the way, Macs are not immune from viruses. In fact, some of the worst outbreaks have happened on a Mac because everybody's got this idea. In fact, Apple even promoted this, that Macs are immune, this whole PC versus Mac thing. They are better, they are more secure, but they are not immune, and the ones that do hit them catch people between the eyes. So please make sure you have good antivirus on there. If you work with us, we centrally manage and monitor your antivirus. You never have to buy it, and we keep an eye on it for you. Just throwing that out there so you're kind of aware that there are ways for you not have to do all this stuff yourself. By the way, since no one antivirus software is good enough to trap everything, if you're on a PC, I would highly encourage you to download a strong malware cleaner like malwarebytes.com. Malwarebytes.com is phenomenal. It has done a great job at getting rid of a lot of the junk that happens. Malwarebytes.com that's spelled B-Y-T-E-S. Malwarebytes, M-A-L-W-A-R-E bytes.com. You can use the free version to check your computer manually. As part of our service, we do include the professional version, and it centrally controls and scans the monitoring of your program. Now that is available for PC only. So just to recap, what are the 4 things to do if someone clicks on a link? 1, change the password. 2, shut down. 3, scan. And 4, scan again. Use a different tool. Better yet, make sure you got a strong password so you don't get, hacked in the first place. But so what if you do? Let's just think about this for a second. First of all, let me encourage you from a marketing standpoint. I'm a marketer at heart. And from a marketing standpoint, why are you using free emails, Hotmail, AOL? Is it just because you didn't know any better, or you didn't know that you can take your website, xyzchiro.com, and brand your email? It's so simple to do. Every touch that you have with a patient, every touch that you have with a vendor, you should be getting your brand out there. Why are you not taking advantage of every opportunity to get that information out there? Think about it. You want to create a consistent image. All of a sudden, you're saying we promote health and wellness, and I've got Gmail or I've got Hotmail. Why not use that as a touch point to get in your face so people recognize your brand, they recognize your logo, they recognize everything about you. Use it as a marketing touch. And if you do get hacked, do what a good chiropractic coach friend of mine, I was with him on an island diving when his email got hacked. And we took an opportunity to put a lot of this content that you're getting today down on a piece of paper for his people. Say, look, guess what, guys? This happened to me, but here's how you can protect yourself from it. And he used it as a marketing opportunity to turn a negative into a positive. Again, in life, we should learn from everything, either examples of what we want to emulate or what we want to avoid. By the way, the subject line of his email said, how having my email hacked helps you. That's a marketing spin. It's a positioning thing that touch your client. Of course, you're using branded email to do that, right? So how can I choose a HIPAA-compliant email solution? Well, that's almost a double-edged sword. First of all, you cannot be sending what the Department of Health and Human Services called EPHI, or personal health information. You cannot be sending that information over email unless you have written permission from your patient to be able to do that. Or it's encrypted, both at rest and in transport, meaning when you send it. So there are encryption solutions. Our solution does give you the capability to do that. Many doctors just opt to not send PHI via email. However, there is one gotcha with going and doing your own branded email. If you're using your website's branded email, one of the problems with that is it uses what's called POP technology. So that's okay if you just want to access it from one PC, but if you got a bunch of your CAs, front desk people, I accessing the email on multiple computers, it's going to pull a copy down on every computer, so you're going to have duplicates, and you're not going to know who's answered what. And there's a simple solution for that, and that's to use a hosted exchange solution like Office 365. But if you do that and use Office 365, you need to make sure that you get Microsoft to sign a business associate agreement with you, because HIPAA requires a BAA or a business associate agreement to be signed with anybody that's storing PHI. And you'll learn all about that if you take advantage of our HIPAA Secure Now solution that we're going to make available to you at the end. But here are some tidbits on the ways that you can choose a good email solution. It needs to exceed or meet HIPAA's security standards. It needs to have at the end of the day, your password is the key to it all. It's all the more reason why you want to keep your patient's data secure by making sure you have a strong password. The solution needs to have administrative access to go in and assign it and change a user's password. What if one of your CAs leaves and they know the password? You have to be able to go in and change that immediately or within a reasonable amount of time. You want a solution that has controls to validate a user's access. How do they know that they are who they really are? If I log in, I need to know, you need to be able to audit that and know that I logged in and access that PHI. That has to be able to control and track that information if you're going to store PHI on that. And by the way, if a patient sends you their private information in your email because you published your Hotmail, you have PHI in your email, whether you intended to or not. And Hotmail, you can't sign a BAA with. So by definition, you cannot use any of the free email solutions. The paid version of Google Apps, or the paid version of Gmail, if you want to say it that way, Office 365 are two that do allow you to do it, and that's sign a BAA. And the other thing is they need to be able to kick you off after a certain amount of time and provide some security when you are transmitting your data back and forth. So that's just a really high-level overview. I don't expect you to remember all of that, but these are some things to think about and write down to pay attention to when you're looking for a solution. And if you need some advice on how to do that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out. Kind of went through that already. So my first question is that how many of you are going to immediately after this webinar go change your password? I hope lots of hands are going up in the air, even though I can't see it. You think about it, your social media accounts, your Facebook accounts, if they get hacked, what can people do with that? Well, now I know your password to that. Where else is that password being used? You might want to give a good hard look at that. So what's next? 30 minutes is not enough time for me to give you all the areas of protection in your business. I just touched the tip of the iceberg with email security. There's backup and disaster recovery. There's making sure your machines are patched. There's firewalls and threat management to make sure that people don't get into your systems. There are so many areas where you, one, need to be protected and then productive in, but there's also technology that can actually help you grow your practice and specifically reach out to people and engage people and re-engage people that have been idle. So there are ways that you can not just use technology to be protected, but that you can actually grow your practice. So my question to you is, can I show you 2 more ways that you can get some information? One, I told you before, to have that cell phone handy. Because what I want you to do is text to this number, 856-514-0181, your name and your email address, and I'm going to show you why you're going to want to do that right now. And I'll give you this number here at the end. Because when you do that, I am going to send you 4 things. There's only 3 listed here. The 4th one we're going to talk about in a minute. One is the 21 most important questions that you must consider before hiring an IT provider. You need to know when you're choosing an IT provider, and even to evaluate your current IT provider, are they giving you what you need? Are they protecting you where you need to be protected? It's an educational white paper that will go through the questions that you need to ask. It's good information to be armed with. The second is about 10 years worth of our knowledge wrapped into one white paper, and it's called the IT Strategy Self-Assessment. You see, time is the new currency. So if you can free up your time, you now can make more money or spend more time with your family. You can see more Isaiahs. And more importantly, you can stop worrying about what you got to go do and understand the why you need to do it. This paper creates 3 levels to take you from going, I need to do backups, to why I need to do backups and what that really means. And it gives you the ability to grade yourself, to see where you are, and to give you a roadmap to take you from where you probably are at to where you need to be to truly be protected, productive, and profitable using technology in your chiropractic practice. And then the third thing is, I told you Garrett Gunderson did a lot for me, and he gave me some financial strategies, and we have a webinar with Dr. David Jackson and Garrett Gunderson together that talk about financial strategies. Man, it's rapid fire financial strategies to help you and use the tools and the financial tips that the most successful chiropractors are putting into place right now to generate massive growth in their businesses. And then I saved the best for last. By the way, you send me your text to that or an email to the one I'm going to give you in a minute, and you'll get those 3 things. But say, you know what, Dan, you created some value for me today. I want to get a little bit more of your expertise. I want you to talk a little bit more about insurance protection and moving us from active care into wellness care. Hey, by the way, guys, what we do for your IT networks is exactly what you do for the human body, and we approach it exactly the same. If you think about how you take a patient through the path in your office and become a chiropractic patient for life and education, exactly the same way. We are education driven. So if you would like a little bit more access to us, we have created 2 solutions that are killer and are getting rave reviews from the folks who didn't understand. They say, oh, my IT guy's got it covered, but they didn't understand that their IT guy, as well-meaning as he was, really was not covering all the areas. And it gave them, if nothing else, the ability to ask the right questions to know that you are truly protected instead of wandering, because hope is not a strategy. And we've created 2 solutions. One is a HIPAA compliance audit, and what it is it's really more a network security audit, but we address a lot of the things that are keeping you from being HIPAA compliant, and more importantly, putting your data and your business at risk in it. And that's a network security audit. Part of the 4 things you're going to get is a $400 coupon to that network security audit. That is $395 for that network security audit. It is cheap insurance. And then one of the things that we found with talking with docs is that you've gone to seminars, you have gotten education, maybe a weekend seminar on how to be HIPAA compliant. Maybe you bought a book and you got back to your office and you go, now where do I start? And we've heard that over and over and over again. So we partnered with a company called HIPAA Secure Now, and man, they've just been phenomenal. So many docs have taken advantage of this, and it literally goes through and does a risk analysis for you. That's required by HIPAA. It's required by Meaningful Use if you're testing for meaningful use and getting stimulus money for your chiropractic EMRs. It's required, and more importantly, it's a good thing for your practice, not to mention required by HIPAA. So it goes through and does that risk analysis, and then we give you your policies and procedures. We show you where you're vulnerable. We help you put your plan together, and then we train your staff. So we literally hand you HIPAA security compliance in a box. We're giving you a minimum of $50 off. It's size-based. So if you're 10 or more, there's more off of a HIPAA security risk analysis. But here's where the money comes in. That's a third-party solution that we use. So every penny you pay goes directly to them. But I am going to sit in on your risk analysis audit and your final outcome audit. It's going to be 2 hours of my time where you get to pick my brain and get advice from me to help you make sure that you are truly protected. So I'm giving that to you. All you need to do is either email me to dan.wellness@techsubluxation.com or techsublux.com, or text me your name and your email. Pick up that phone and text me your name and your email to 856-514-0181. So I thank you for your time. I hope that I've addressed the things that you want, but in case I haven't, I want to open the floor up to any questions. So Tabor, it's yours.
All I can say is, oh my goodness. I think everything that you said today was something I needed to hear, and obviously we've got to get this information out there to more chiropractors because I know I'm not the only one. Ladies and gentlemen, we are opening it up to questions, so if you have a question, go ahead and underneath the video where you're watching, just type in the question there and we'll get Dan to answer it for us. Dan, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts or your take on the email marketing websites such as like Infusionsoft or using Aweber? Is there anything specific there that we need to be doing?
Well, most of my talk today was around compliance and email and that association. Choosing a solution like Aweber, Infusionsoft, Constant Contact, etc., iContact, you name it, MailChimp. There's a lot of great ones out there. MailChimp's free. First of all, you absolutely, if you're doing email marketing, need to be using a third-party service. Do not send your email marketing from your personal email account. It will get you blacklisted or banned. You have the canned spam act. It requires you to give the person the opportunity to opt out of your emails. So, you know, plus it just annoys me when I get emails that I can't opt out of if I don't want them.
Right.
So, for sure, don't put yourself in that situation. Plus, they give you tools to track, and guess what? What you measure improves, and what you measure and report improves exponentially. So, if you're sending out email marketing, don't you want to know who's opening and who's clicking on it and how effective it is?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, by the way, I don't think email marketing, you know, if you ask me what's the best way to market, if I put my marketing hat on, there's a lot of different ways to market. I don't think email is the best way. It is a way, and you should definitely use it, but educate, you know, educate.
Let's see, we have one person who was asking, can you put that information back up? Your screen capture must have fell off, so your text phone number.
I sure can. Hang on one sec. And I think what you're looking for is that.
There we go. Yep. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the text, I've got the number down, and we'll be sending a text to you as well. That's some valuable information I'm looking forward to. All you have to do is text to your name and email to 856-514-0181. And let's see, I'm going to check again here if we have any other questions. Yes. Oh, no, we covered that. What was the phone number to text? I'm going to also type it in here for you. 514 and 0181. All right, so there's the number for you guys to text, and they're really looking forward to that information there, Dan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to providing that, and you know, any questions you have, feel free, because an educated look, you guys spend a lot of time on continuing education, a lot of time on understanding ways that you can better help people with different techniques. You know, I drive an hour one way to my chiropractor now because I was looking for a specific technique that corrected scoliosis, and it's been a phenomenal response for me. And so, you know, education is the key to it all, and the more educated I have become in the chiropractic space, you know, quite honestly, you know, I'm a huge passionate fan about chiropractic if you haven't figured that out yet. And I brought a ton of people into the chiropractic space as patients because every time I hear, it just pains me when I hear people who aren't able to get it out of their heads that the medical doctors are not going to save them. And quite honestly, you know, the more people I can convert, the happier I am. It's just where I'm at. So.
Absolutely. And you know, I had no idea that it was actually a HIPAA requirement to have that audit.
It is. If you look at it, well, let me be real clear. HIPAA requires a risk analysis.
Yep.
Now, if you feel that you are qualified to do a risk analysis, be my guest. I can send you the guidance that talks all about that. In fact,
I wouldn't know how to start.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's like where do you go? Hold on a second. I don't know if you have the ability to post. Let me see. How do I type? Can I see the group chat?
Well, no, but I can. If you go to that link that I sent you in our little personal chat, when that page comes up, that's what they'll see.
Yeah, gotcha.
There you go. You can just post there, and everybody will be able to communicate with you.
Awesome. I'm going to actually post this. This is the website where you can actually sign up directly for this. I would encourage you to reach out to me first, though, because I can give you that discount code for $50 off that. But did that post?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there it is. Just popped up. You can see a video I put together and a little bit more information. This is our main company that has that the tech subluxation brand falls underneath, but it's the same content for the analysis. So there's some information there where you can get that. So if there's anything else I can answer, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to speaking with some of you. Have a great day.
All right. Well, thank you again, Dan. Appreciate you being on and sharing this information, and we'll be in touch. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for being on the call, and we look forward to hearing from you and highly recommend that you contact Dan. He is definitely one of the best in the business. So thanks again, and we will talk to you soon.
Take care.